Okay, hi everyone. I'm sorry the video has been cut, and maybe it's better like that because it's gonna be too long video, but it's not due to me, it's because the switching between my written notes on my computer and the camera did cut. I don't know why, how it happened, sometimes did cut the recording, so really sorry. But we were at the point I was going to speak about Elizabeth and Helen Cummings, so daughter and sister. I'm gonna be obliged now not to go to the recorded to the text on my computer because I'm afraid it cuts again. So it's the second part. So if you want introduction about women in the whiskey industry, women in whiskey in general, and the context and the historical background before the 19th century, before 1884, let's say, because we're at that now, or 1824, first record of a woman distilling whiskey in Scotland, 1824, with Helen Cummings from CARDHU. Again, the bottle is there. Good. I'm not gonna try this, but it's the Gold Reserve I've picked to illustrate this. I have the 12, I have a few others as well. So one of the oldest records in Scotland. I told you also about, I don't know if I can do that in a different way so you can still see me a bit. Yeah, so I mentioned the other distilleries in which women were notably working on before her, but that's in 1872. So she made a new distillery called CARDHU because she was working on another one before, but unfortunately while it was extended in 87, she had to sold it in 1983 to John Walker and Sons. Then after it changed name in 1980 from CARDHU to CARDHU. Yeah, we're gonna switch on the issue about the pure malt. Yeah, so Speyside whiskey, quite yeah, under the yeah, it was a bit rugged, a bit rough around the edges and powerful. So the article says that the whiskey character changed over the years, and also under the supervision of Helen and then Elizabeth Cummings, for a sweeter style. Now that is said, I have tried a 27 years old rare malt a long time ago, and it was not that sweet and it was not that soft. So yeah, it always depends, but this is sure that they're trying officially. Diageo tries to maintain a sweet style in CARDHU. Now that the silhouette of the woman in the box and in the no, it's yeah, you can see it on the neck. I mean there with the flag. So yeah, she is also used for marketing now. So yeah, but I have to mention her as one of the first of the 19th century, or one of the where it's often quoted. Now we're gonna switch to contemporary era. So remember, we had very important figures. I'm not gonna I explained the first episode, I'm not gonna talk about earlier figures like and famous like Bessie Williamson until the end of the video, because I'm gonna try Lefroy, and obviously it's peated, and I want to try an unpeated or more lightly peated whiskies before. We're halfway, almost halfway the video, so it's good it's cut in two finally, because otherwise it will be way too long. So I talked about well, I'm gonna talk about Bessie Williamson, one of the oldest famous figure of the whiskey industry. in my thumbnail, you noticed there was a young woman and an old woman. The old woman was Bessie on the left, black and white, and in color, someone representing the future and the present already of the whiskey industry, and probably one of the youngest women of the whiskey industry today. Gonna try. So I haven't met her yet. I think she's, maybe you can meet her in UK, but she's most likely behind the scenes now. But Kelsie Mc Kechnie, hope I'm pronouncing that well, 26 years old, world's youngest apprentice malt master, and she's working with David Stewart, of course, which is not retired yet, but still helping out. So he's the MBA. He's been in the business for 26 years, and she's learning with him and with Brian Kinsman's, taking care of all the Grant's brands. I have an interview from her as well. It's from Whiskey Magazine 2022. So yeah, so what can I say? Yeah, she's benefiting from the experience of David, but so she supports the Glenfiddich brand also through helping Brian Kinsman. So yeah, she said in the interview she started William Grant & Son in 2014, the technical lab. I love the lab environment and carrying out analysis. Of course, like a lot of women in this industry, it's no joke studies she did. So they went all, it seems, many of them, and men of course, went at the Edinburgh famous Heriot-Watt University. So she's an expert in brewing and distilling now for sure. So she did carry out analysis on new make spirits, and she learned how to work on new makes, as she said, weird and wonderful things of the production. So she started doing more nosing and tasting, and then my path crossed the ones of Brian and David. So when I met David, we got on real well. People ask if we ever bicker, but it doesn't happen. We have a similar school of thoughts. So what does she say else? Yeah, interesting to know. So do I have a Balvenie here? I thought I have. Yeah, I have something a bit rare now. The 15 single barrel. You see, it's from 1996 distills and 2011 bottled, 47.2.8. It's now coming back as a 12, not sure as a 15 bourbon like this. So interestingly, she did participate to the creation. She did create the Sweet Toast of American Oak. I haven't tasted yet. Supervised under the eye of David. She also worked on the new 12 years old ex-bourbon. What else? No, it's the same. Okay. Finished in Virgin Oak. What else does she say there? It's too long, it's difficult to summarize. I didn't have time to summarize all the interviews, to be honest. Just highlighted a few things. Yeah, she's surprised by the breadth and range of possible carries in the whiskies, but she's very impressed by the all that's happening there. Describing nosing as an ability so many people have but just don't know it yet. It's more the immediate future, more pragmatic work to be done. We're looking on a few new releases, a storage range, which for now is in the push, and we're filling in the pipeline. One of my most favorite parts is blending spirits and sample casks from generations before me, and thought of me laying down quality for future malt masters to come. So yeah, so lots of things. So brilliant woman, apparently working now for one of the most famous craft whiskey distillery. Where are we now? Yeah, we're gonna move to another country. It's another province, shall we say, but it's felt as a country. With a picture with more recent, I had older pictures. It's the first woman I met from the whiskey industry, not being on the marketing or sales role, but distiller, and the main distiller. Here's a more recent picture of her, because she moved now to Glenmorangie, but we're not going to talk about Glenmorangie yet, because we're going to talk about PENDERYN, because she worked for PENDERYN she was the first trainee distiller in 2004 under Jim Swan's direction. For PENDERYN the Welsh distillery. So Gillian, I met her because also at that time, later on, I worked for Sullivan's Cove, so we were doing different shows. I was a brand ambassador, kind of, let's say, translator / brand ambassador, and we had the exhibitors dinner after the shows, and we had the occasion to speak about her work there. It's the old style of I prefer the old and the new, but also I have 3 bottles, so I don't necessarily need to have more. And yeah, we're gonna try this one, which is the basic Madeira. It's a 2012 bottling, first and second fill bourbon, and then Madeira. Again, I will speak more about it when I can. What is amazing there, so she moved in 2012, Gillian Mac DONALD, to join Bill Lumsden as head of analytics and whiskey creation. And she's also helping out as Glenmorangie Ardbeg's apprentice master blender, if I may say, or she's helping Bill anyway, legend Bill Lumsden. What is interesting also in 2012 is when she left, she was replaced by not a man, not one woman, but 3 women, some being of course apprentice and other master blender. But there you have it, and it's a very interesting story, because it's not that often. So you have Laura Davis, head distiller nowadays. You had, sorry for the pronunciation, Aista Jukneviciute, again I'm sorry if I butcher it, and Bethan Morgans, trainee blender. So it's quite amazing to have this managed distillery-wise by a woman before and now, still now. So we see that very characteristic, a bit herbal. There's also a lot of things to say about the Faraday still, but we don't have time now. But so kind of mix of pot still and very long column with I think 12 plates, a very complicated process to go to very high alcohol rate in the new make. So this is 46, and this is yes, this typical herbal, quite herbal, vanilla, pear, eau de vie, pineapple, and spices. Very fresh, refined spirit. A lot of fresh fruit in there. The green apple, Granny Smith, comes across a lot. But yeah, very nice. So this was for Wales. Tribute to Welsh women distilling whiskey. One might ask, but Greg, how about France? Oh yeah, I give you France. You want France? I give you France. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about two women there, and I had the privilege to meet and interview the second one, but unfortunately not the first one yet. So the first one is from Limoges. The distillery is located, this is also a brewery located in Limoges, in Nouvelle-Aquitaine, on the west, let's say, of France. So there she is. It's a beautiful picture, as Anna said, my friend Anna said, which I dedicate, forgot to mention there, I did dedicate the first episode to Anna, who's a friend of mine, a new whiskey lover, who trained a bit this video through a proper tasting of several hours. Sonia, who's a supporter of the channel from France. Luna Aaron from Germany. Leanne from Scotch and the Bayou. Inca Larissa from On the Sauce Again and the Whiskey Sisters, along with Jen. And my friend bartender Helen ARTHUR from the Buckingham Bar in Paris. I think it's okay for the dedication once again. So I'm gonna speak now about three women, two distilling and running distilleries, and one with a special status after that. So Michard is the name of the G before. I don't know if you can see it, but I will show it after when I try the G stands for both Jules, her father, and Julie, her, who works in the same distillery. So it's a very craft and tiny distillery. Initially it was only a brewery, excuse me. So it did start in 2001. And she, as often we're gonna see, especially in the second part, women working in the whiskey industry, which were not initially working in the whiskey industry, but they're completely different. So she was, Julie was working in the optical glasses industry. Shop, I mean, with an expertise on glasses, and she went to help her father to the brewery, and at some point she said, do you think I could help and maybe full-time work here and learn distillation with you? And then it happened. So we had now one of the most refined French single malt, which is still very boutique. It's a tiny 30-ish cask per year production, so that's why you don't hear much about it. Initially I wanted to have a try with you of the second whiskey, the Artesia, that comes next, but I thought maybe it was more fair to a smaller distillery to highlight it, because I talked a lot about Artesia and not a lot TOS Distillery, not a lot about Michard. So Michard, they have an 8, now 15 years old, I think there's even a 17. But I haven't tried them. I only have the 8. You can see there, which is in sherry casks, and I have a doubt about the. Let me check. I have a doubt if it uses a certain barley. I know it's brewing. Yeast. Oh yeah. The very interesting story about it is that they uses centennial yeast, living centennial yeast, souche in French, the yeast source, I mean. So they use, oh no, it's 11 casks a year. My God, it's not that much. What else can I say? Non-chill filtered, non-colored. Ex-bourbon oak, Limousin oak, new oak, lightly charred oak, and then the sherry oak. Right. Okay, let's go to the trial now, very quickly. Again, if you want more historical facts about history, especially of Scotch whiskey, you will find in the first part of the video. Where is the glass? Here. yeah, it's another branded glass, but I had to find 8 quite similar glasses. So Michard, you have it. It says, what does it say? Yeah, Centennial. Oh, yeah, it's in English as well. Good. Family Distillery in Aquitaine. Yeah, I hope someday you will find this. It's a single barrel selection here. I forgot to mention. 43% ABV. You will often see this ABV here, or even lower. But it's a very fruit forward. It's very Speyside-ish in a way, but very rich Speyside. I mean, sherried Glenlivets, sherried Glenlossies, especially on the both almost bordering cognac territory, with a lot of apricot, oranges, note, fresh and candied, some dried fruits as well. Yeah, it's a belter. It's so subtle, so delicate. So it's great work from Julie. Long lingering, a tad of oak, but nice tannins. It's very nicely melted. The mastery here of the cask selection and the cut. I think they forgot to say they only keep the heart of the cut. It's a super demanding approach. I wish there were more present in expert for you to try it, because it's a beautiful distillate. Before we move from France, I have to pay homage to someone, but am I gonna be able? Oh no, after that we're gonna stay in France, because there's still whiskey before we speak of someone doing something else, but still about whiskey. I like this picture because she's often shy, and she's doing everything at the distillery. Of course, it's Katy GRAVINA from TOS Distillery. If you follow the channel, you know I love this distillery and then craft boutique approach. What am I looking for? The bottle. We're not gonna try it, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of videos about Katy and her Artesia whiskey. So it's a TOS distillery, and you can see she's on the label. She's written on the label. It's a limited edition sherry, 46% ABV, delicious one. She's also on the box with one of the founders of the brewery. Initially it was a brewery and before a distillery, so you can see Katy here in the warehouse, and one of the founders, but now it's more Stefan we can see here, who's still a brewer and is gonna do the brewing the new distillery that's now going to be hopefully opened this year or next year. I think it's a bit delayed. And Stefan, and it's a couple. I told you in the first episode that of course there are many women important in the whiskey industry now, but it can be also it's less I mean, there's a lot of father and daughter stories there, and there's also a lot of couple stories there in the whiskey, and everyone's bringing what he knows the best. Stefan brings the brewing know-how, and she's bringing the distilling know-how. She's also a bit of self-taught, like Julie we saw before. She came from the perfume industry, Katy, so it's very interesting to see. I think she has a big also background on nosing abilities, and that's probably what explains her skills in the distilling process. But also I think they do select probably in couple the releases, and yeah, they have a demanding approach. I really recommend the classic if you can find it. Maybe abroad, again in the US, it's De Maison Selection Spirits who distribute them in the USA, but you might find the maybe the Fût Noir Char 3 in Whiskey Exchange or other platforms in UK. I hope to see more in the future. I love what they do. I have 5 bottles from them, plus they also do nice other spirits. So big shout out to Katy, who works in TOS Distillery, but I also have someone taking care as the public relations and social media. It's called Anaïs, who's also present on the show, so shout out to Anaïs as well. So there we have it, but we're not finished for France, because I had a privilege to meet also a great figure who now lives in Islay for a long since 2010. She left Whiskey Magazine France. She helped to create Martine NOUET. And what does she do? Yeah, her nickname is Queen of the Stills. And what does she helps to do? Cook food pairings. So she's very strong on food pairings. Hope I will not make this fall. I have to take this here. Why? Because I'm going to show you one of her. I'm not sure it's in English, but this is so le guide Hachette du Whisky, where you can find 500 tasting notes, and for each one you can have an advice of food pairings, and more precisely on 50 especially. She is also the author of Les Routes du Malt, which is also about food pairings. You can where there are some recipes. Oops. Bon, ça c'est plus pour les Français. For the French, she also has an English book, a book in English, but I'm afraid if I go back to my files on the computer, it's gonna cut. So if you type Martine NOUET like this, Martine NOUET here, you can find maybe what she's doing in English, or maybe I will add it at the end. Talking about women, and yeah, she's been awarded for her books. I was one of the books are dedicated. One of the books is dedicated to me as well. But before I go to the next whiskey, I gotta pay tribute to one of the early days of my whiskey books buying. I bought this in 2012, my god, and it's Helen ARTHUR, who unfortunately is not among us anymore. She passed away a few years ago. I think there's not a lot of pictures of her you can find, because there's other people who bear the same name, but you can see her in it's a French edition, How to Taste a Single Malt. You can see Helen ARTHUR there. So big shout out to her. I love this book, Early Days, which you can have a very precise and summarized informations about whiskies, Scotch whiskies especially, and some beautiful pictures as well. It did help me a lot in my early days to discover whiskies. What else? I think now we are on the next tasting and next tribute. It's someone, I'm not sure, she's still having the same position now, and also the distillery is going to bankruptcy currently, unfortunately, MACKMYRA, so it's a bit difficult, but I had to give a shout out to this woman. So we're in Sweden, but she's of Italian origin, Angela Dorazio. So it's funny to have different names for different countries. You cannot figure out what it is before knowing she works for MACKMYRA. So it's she's a master blender. She was or is since the early 2000s. I tried a lot of MACKMYRA over the years. I lost track a few years ago, to be honest. And I have a beautiful rare now release from 2011 to try along with you. So she has a great knowledge of blending casks. I don't have a lot of background infos now to give you, but yeah, so she did climb the stairs to get to her position now. She also, I think, along with all the distilling team and the owners, she did also mark the Swedish whiskey with her own imprint of doing things a bit differently, though still being a single malt. Because, for instance, they relied a lot of local production, and for instance, the peated whiskies, even the first had some Islay casks. They use a lot of local juniper branches they add to the peat to give it their own style. Also, they use a lot of for finishes and stuff. They use a lot of mulberry, cloudberry, local botanicals and not botanicals, fruit wines. They have there. So there's some can be hit or miss, these releases, but they have a singular style, which is really I mean, she did create something different, right? So yeah, so I had the chance to see her and Lisa, of course, also Lisa Collins, who was the brand ambassador for Europe and France in particular. So now we don't see her anymore in shows, but for some time she was the only, she was the big figure of the Swedish whiskey before other distilleries occur in our landscape here. Still a lot of things to learn from Swedish whiskey. We have on a high coast, we have lots of new distilleries there. So there it is, the quite heavy bottle, the special number 6, coming, it's too far now, with a nice box. And we have the glass here. The recipe is bourbon and sherry. It's bottled at 46.8. It's a special 06 Summer Meadow. Then I'm gonna try it quickly for you. All these whiskies, if they're not reviewed yet, they will be reviewed at some point. So we're very subtle. We're not so far. There's an herbal side to MACKMYRA that's common to PENDERYN. That could be interesting to do a comparison video between those two. But there's no Madeira there. Scale to my Swedish friends. Yeah, so it's more tannic. Also a difference with PENDERYN, a lot of difference with the previous French. It's a lot more tannic profile. The oak toast is less important than for others. Is more yeah, they do less. The toasting is less high, and the charring is less high than in many other distilleries. So there's a lot of new oak feel or tannic oak feel, but this one is greatly balanced. I love the fruitiness and floralness, the Frenchness, that's a summery feel, yeah. Herbal, hay, also citrus fruit, vanilla. Quite a rich profile. Probably one of the best on citrus, on the variety of citrus fruit. One of the best MACKMYRAs around there. They were not always lucky with the finishes, I have to say. I have something on the table I forgot to speak on episode 1, on the part 1 of the video. It's when I spoke about Hildegard von Bingen and also the early days, the before the 18th century, because I was at Lindor's distillery. If you want to know, it's another topic, the origins of whiskey, but I touched on it on the first video. What is closer to what whiskey was as we understand through the records, through the Etcheker's roll, 1494, what is probably closer to whiskey than what it is now is this, which is not a whiskey but a spirit drink, because it's new make with a maceration of local botanicals, herbs and spices, as they say. So this is probably the closest to the early days of whiskey than anything else you would find and called whiskey, right? Small parenthesis. Gonna move on now to four in fact. Finish with 4 distilleries from Scotland. One of them probably the strongest impact, talking about women in the whiskey industry, because the founder is a woman and the manager, and also because the visual of the and the names often of the expressions are a lot related to women. We're not gonna try it. I did several videos about it, but yeah, I had to talk, and I met her last year, and see that smile, it's fantastic. It's very I mean, it's communicative. Annabel THOMAS, of course. Where is it? Of NC'NEAN, and it's very intriguing and unique packaging. I probably spoke about it. Also an organic whiskey with a lot of care about environment. Not gonna speak too much about it, but yeah. So what I wanted to say, she's another woman who starts in another ground territory, so consultant in strategy in London, and then moved to learn about whiskey. So since 2013 she's taking care of NC'NEAN. She's also responsible for the ranges like the Huntress, or the ranges which also highlight other people, men and women of her team. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the majority, so there's a slight majority of women in the team compared to men. Like there's also in the second distillery, the next one, there's also a big importance of women. And yeah, so Annabel also trying to so it's whiskey also that benefits from the Jim's one, where he is not. It will be easier to say where he is not having his imprint in. But yeah, it's the organic is 65% STR, 35% US oak. She's also have in her portfolio a kind of gin made of new make, which is a different take with local botanical. So it's a lot about responsible sustainability, low carbon imprint, and emphasis on women's stories. So and yeah, beautiful whiskey, the NC'NEAN. So I had to give a shout out to her. Cannot be too long on everyone again. Who's next? Next is a distillery I really like a lot, and there are several women I could highlight there, and I haven't met this woman, unfortunately, because I don't think she will come abroad. She also takes care of the visitor. She likes to also the visitor center to play the distillery visitor role, taking care of visitors, but she's mainly a master blender of Shona MacLEOD for gin and whiskey, beautiful Isle of Harris gin. Where is the Isle of Harris whiskey? So I reviewed it as well, so I'm not gonna drink it now, but I like this a lot. This is the majority of cask bourbon first release, but there's also now the Oloroso release that's very nice. I can advise you. So what's to say quickly, it's very social distillery oriented. In Isle of Harris and Lewis there was not a lot of activity outside the Tweed activity, fishing and stuff, and bit of tourism, and the distillery really helped with 30% or more of the management of the team being women, really helped to highlight, to put the Isle of Harris on the whiskey tourism map, let's say, to put a long story short. Even if the recipe of the Hearach has been, their whiskey has been first worked with Charles McLean, who was a consultant to create the single malt recipe of it. She's involved in the evolution of it and also maintaining a high standards of production and also of blending. I'm, as a consultant blender, a newbie, so to speak, in professional wise in it. I'm very impressed by her work at what Shona does in Isle of Harris, so had to give her a shout out. So we are Western Highland, external Hebrides here, so high on the map on the west. What else? Next up we're gonna try things and I'm gonna do, for this one I'm gonna do double shout out. I like to do that because I had the privilege to meet them and at several times, and even in their previous role for one of them. Oops, please stay quiet on my pedestal. Oh, guys, it's complicated when you don't do editing. I'm sorry, it's a feeling probably coming across as amateurish. Who are these women? So we have, with a blue top here, we have Antonia Bruce, who is the other half of Adelphi Independent Bottling Company. There's Alex and Antonia Bruce. But what they do there in the French show, you can see them with along with Jenna Carlson, is they're taking care of the Ardnamurchan stand last year. It's a picture from last year of Salon Club Expert du Gars. And there's Jenna here, Jenna Carlson, who had the big background. Both are, I will tell you what they are now, but Jenny was working previously for Springbank, Glengyle, Brown-Forman. She is now their marketing communications manager, and the Antonia Bruce is the co-founder of Adelphi and co-blender. She's part of a blending team, as Jenny, of Ardnamurchan, and blending is super important at Ardnamurchan because they often work with 40-50 casks to do with several cask types to provide a recipe that will both highlight their West Highlands. I did 3 videos at least about Ardnamurchan, so I'm not going to go too long on them. It's a West Highland distillery founded in 2014. And yeah, Antonia Bruce has really the knowledge in blending cask, selecting cask and blending cask, and Jenny as well. They do a tremendous job highlighting both the peated and Highlander style of their single malt in every release they can. On my personal taste, I tend to prefer what they do, their work on small batches than on single cask of Ardnamurchan, but of course there are exceptions. So yeah, 2014 for Antonia, 1993 for Adelphi, and 2019, if I'm not mistaken, is the date in which Jenny joined the team. So big shout out to them, and they do speak French well, so it's always a great pleasure to meet them. What do I for my penultimate bottle to try for you? what did I pick? I picked one of the early releases I'm really crazy about, ARDNAMURCHAN, really love. And also I had the chance to have a dedication in French for me of the box. At that time there was a box. Thank you, Antonia, again. So it's ARDNAMURCHAN from 2021, April 2021, as you can see, third batch. Bourbon Sherry Oloroso cask, distilled 2017, bottle 20, what did I wrote, 24? No, it's 2021, so 4 years old. No, it's, I do mistake here, did mistake. Yeah, it's because originally I had planned to show you the 57.3 to show the Polo Noir release, but I'm preparing for you spoiler comparison between the 10 years old AD ARDNAMURCHAN and the Polo Noir release. It's on the probably one of the next or just after one of the two next videos. You will have a comparison with the two ARDNAMURCHANs, but for now it's this one. And again, great mastery on the. I didn't pour much, but yeah, I love those slightly maritime, the les embruns in French, the sea spray, yeah, slightly peated, the slightly herbal Highlander Irish spicy character of ARDNAMURCHAN. Such a richness, and the peat smoke with a slight star anise. No star anise, but there's something sexy on the floral side. Yeah, a bit. And yeah, there's almost this vergeoise in French, I don't know in English. Almost barley sugar, yeah, mixed with something else. This has been reviewed. This is one of the best they did. Really like it a lot. Very subtle, very complex. ARDNAMURCHAN. And now, last but not least, the queen of it all, if I may say. Probably the most famous woman in the whiskey industry, Scottish whiskey industry. Bessie Williamson, of course, where you can find the name Williamson sometimes in the bottlings that doesn't have the right to say Lefroy, so you will see Bessie Williamson instead. Or no, we will see Williamson this year, 8 years old. I have one, for instance, of 8 years old. Sometimes it's teaspoon, though. Be careful. It's teaspoon, so blended malt because of a few centiliters or liters of another single malt. But sometimes it can also be a single malt. You have to take care on the label if it's really written single malt and not blended malt. Yeah, but so Bessie Williamson, a major figure. Let me find her story there. If I haven't mixed up things too much. Yeah, it's the last but not least, some would say. Official 18. Yeah, I'm gonna try the official 18 for you, which is a masterpiece, and it's not today's version, mind you. It's an old one. So I got a whole story of her. I'm probably not gonna go too far, but yeah, to put a long story short, Bessie Williamson, born in 1910, died in 1982, wasn't from Islay originally, and she had no family connection with the whiskey business. But she was from an era where women were rarely employed in Scottish distilleries, other than office clerks, secretaries, cleaners. But she's a legendary figure and the only woman to manage and own a distillery in Scotland in the 20th century. I don't think it's the only woman, but yeah, 20th. Okay, the key is 20th, the first. Yeah, but how did that happen? She was a student of the University of Glasgow in 1997, studies, etc. Nothing to do with whiskey, but she went on holidays on Islay in 1934. She learned of a temporary vacancy for a shorthand typist at Lafroig Distillery, and her application was successful. So she was a teacher. She never went back to teaching. So the distillery was owned by another company, but it was took over in 1927 by Ian Hunter, who had not a great reputation. He was not an easy guy, but it seems to have it has worked with Bessie. So he asked her to manage the office, and she became his most trusted lieutenant. So we have a testimony of Ian McLean who works at the distillery, and told Andrew Gifford, journalist, famous whiskey writer. I have his book there, but still haven't finished it, about Islay. Andrew Gifford, she was nice, a very attractive girl, very clever, educated woman. And when Ian Hunter suffered from a stroke in 1938 and was confined in a wheelchair, Bessie took a greater share in the management of the business. And when in 1944, after the World War, when the restart of the production was on the map, Bessie was appointed company secretary with a small shareholding, and at the death of Hunter in 1954, he left money to long-serving employees. And to put a long story short, as she was a good boss, she took over and gained leadership. So she ran the distillery up to 1972. And her sense of business, they say, it's the article from Edinburgh Whisky Academy, by the way, I'm reading. Yeah, so she took a greater role in that. I have another article here that says that she left a great impact, especially helped get the company known for expert, and to pay tribute to Bessie. Remember in the first episode I'm talking about the other woman of the thumbnail, so Kelsie Mc Kechnie, a younger figure, the youngest figure now as being a Malt Master, Master Blender, Maître de Chai if you like. And we're gonna try, a big pleasure I had to try this for a private session, like a repetition of this video with a friend last week, and it's the Lafroig 2008 release of the 18 with an old bourbon cask, if I'm not mistaken. And this is I think it's non-chill filtered, I'm not sure. No, it doesn't say non-chill filtered. And unfortunately, as it's probably a bottle for all AU, it says in Dutch, if I'm not mistaken, Farven Justeret met caramel. But despite that, it's a stunning whiskey, and it's my last of the show here, of the video. Gorgeous peat smoke at the best quality peat smoke there. Got a bit of also slightly iodine, of course it's medicinal, seaweed, and this crazy peat smoke with the big complexity on the nose. Don't you know? with 18 years old, you really have the depth. The peat smoke is completely intricate into the malty profile, to those citrus fruit, those herbal elements, those green and underwood moss elements. It's deep. It's there's a sweet tooth of it. Maybe it's a caramel. I don't know, but the sweet side of it. But also it's mellowed, as many Islay whiskies with a decent age. But yeah, the peat is very complex. There's a coffee-ish, almost mocha-ish side of it, dark chocolate. It's absolutely gorgeous. For this last drum, I'm gonna open it up just to provoke a bit of a reaction. It's an explosion of flavors. There you have a bit of star anise in there. It's not more, but it's still some. Last but not least, we're on 2 hours if we see the 2 videos. I'm gonna pay tribute quickly to a few other women. What do I have? Yeah, so I spoke about Artesia. So here you have a picture of Stefan and Katy. Gotta give it shout out. We spoke about Lindors, so they're Helen and Drew Mackenzie that I met when they were working for Glenmorangie before we were Whisky Life Paris here, before they even started the to work on the Lindors distillery creation. Another shout out, of course, I said, to Nicole of Springbank up, who's not abroad now. I think she's also family charge, so she has other things to do. Talking about glamorous couples, and I have to quote the photographer, not to be in trouble, William Bocardet. Look at this gorgeous couple of the distillery du Vercors from France, who does the Sequoia whiskey. I recommend. Of course, the most glamorous couple, as I say, at the time they were working from Glenmorangie, Graham and Faye Cool, who plays a big part. Faye plays a big part in the work of husband Graham. Goes into shows, etc. Before leaving whiskey for a second, gotta give a shout out also for Juliette Bourhan, who's a master of the Quake. She works now from Glenallachie, but she did work a long time for Gordon MacPhail and other brands, and she's really an expert and a great person as well. So big shout out to her. And one of the best meeting lately, it's not whiskey, I'm sorry, it's grappa at its best. I have the privilege to meet, where it is, last bottle. Yeah, you can stop if you don't like grappa, but you might miss the best with Antonella, which I met in a Parisian show here, Wine Paris, pouring me an 8 years old for a big bottle, aged in different casks. Great family. The father passed away, but transmitted his love for grappa to his wife Janola and the 3 sisters there. You can see working at the distillery. It's an amazing family, amazing story. So yeah, I had to give a shout out for other spirits. Also, I had the chance to meet Fanny Fougera at the Wine Paris show. And try her beautiful cognacs. Probably go back to it at some point. Apologies to all the women I couldn't have the time to talk about and quote, but yeah, so the women are doing a tremendous job now in this industry. Consumers, drinkers, reviewers, distillers, managers, etc., blenders. I love you. Thank you very much for watching. Hope it was interesting. Please watch the 2 parts, because there's a background overview in the first part and other brands that might be interesting. Bye bye.